Barakatah Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Chakudash. Welcome to another live lesson. This one is called Howl for Your Miseries. I wanted to put Howl ye for your miseries, but that name, ye or yea, they would have, thought something different. And speaking on yea, I was watching Elder Pastor's short video that he did on the live stream that Timcast had done. And pretty much, as I was watching it, they kept trying to cut, Ye off, and he got up and walked out. He said to hell with him. And then Luke Radowski was speaking, and he said he wanted to talk about certain things. You could see Luke Radowski was sincere. He had wanted to talk about certain things, but then this guy, Tim, he started saying, look, we're going to have to question you and this, that, and the other. I don't know why he got up and left, There was, talking about it, especially him. And what I was thinking about was, you obviously, you either don't know or you just are insensitive to the plight of Jake in this country, especially, the tribe of Judah, the so-called Negroes, and things that they've gone through. You don't know what this man's been through, as far as all of the shit that he's been dealing with and the stress and oppression he's been dealing with. Of course, he would get up and walk out. So I thought nothing of it after that, and I changed it and I started watching Dabu because Dabu was live. And funny enough, Dabu was just speaking about the Timcast and how Ye walked out and how Ye and them, how Timcast and them dropped the ball on that interview, and I was like, wow, that's kind of heavy, and he said he met Luke Radowski, said they've done work underground and Luke Radowski's cool, and he said, but that dude Tim, he said he's very suspect. He said, you would acknowledge him, say what's up to him or whatever, and he would ignore you, or he would turn away and walk the other way. So he said to me, he said he's a pretty much he's saying this guy is an insider, an agent, this guy Tim, and then what I did was after watching some vocab. Speaking of vocab, he got Apostle Tar's video taken down that Apostle Tar put up, that lousy ass rap, that dirty lousy rap, and pretty much when I went back to Timcast, funny enough, Luke Radowski was speaking on, he understands, that, he's been through a lot, and he was pretty much sympathizing, I know he's been through a lot, this, that, the other, pretty much the same sentiments I was thinking of. And another guy that usually works with them, he was speaking on it, and all of a sudden this guy Tim said, he cut it off, so it made me think more, give more credence to what Dabu 7 said, that this guy is an agent. But that's neither here nor there. I just wanted to make mention of that since I watched it last night. So getting into the lesson, what you're looking at in front of you is the Cheyenne Mountain Complex. There's different ones out there. I don't know how many there are around the U.S. They're called DUMBs, DUMBS, which is Deep Underground Military Bases. And pretty much this is what Esau, this is his plan of escape. They're thinking in case of a nuclear missile, something falling. And this is going to be their go-to place to hide themselves. And then you have a picture here of, some military men, at one of the stations. And then you have the door, the closed, in case a blast comes, they can be protected. Well, I'm here to tell you that this is going to be your grave. Anyone that's on the soils of America, all of these places that you see are going to be your graves. These deep underground military bases, that's going to be your graves, because the Lord said here in Amos, chapter 9. And you international banking families, you better prepare for these miseries that shall come upon you. How ye for your miseries that shall come upon you, because you have to understand that when you've been living high off the hog for that long, it's going to be hard to do anything else. When you're used to ripping people off and living a lavish lifestyle, it's going to be hard to, do an honest day's work, and that's pretty much what they're going to be into, because they're pretty much weak men. They're strong men as far as wickedness is concerned and ripping people off and cold-hearted and all that, but they're weak men because they cannot work. They cannot do anything, There's not much that many of them can do besides ripping people off. So to go from that lofty position of sitting back, drinking, $500 or $1,000 glass, champagne or cognac, or whatever, and eating everything top of the line, wearing everything top of the line, to go into a pauper state, digging holes and, building stuff, they're going to catch hell. They're going to catch holy hell. And a small example of that is when you watch the movie Trading Places. You'll see how those two individuals, damn, I forgot the other guy's name. Something and Morte. Morte was one of them. Mortimer, I forget the other one's name. And they went from having everything, ripping people off, to having nothing. And there was another movie, I'm not sure which one it was. It was Eddie Murphy joint that he was in, that shows them on the streets, living in cardboard boxes. I forget what movie that was, but it shows them same individual living in cardboard boxes. So they're going to catch hell. So when you go into these bunkers here in America, and around, well, really in America, the Lord said, Amos 9:2, though they dig into hell. What is hell? Hell is the ground, the earth, where you bury people at, just the earth, digging into the earth in general. Howl, which means the grave, or Hades, which is the Greek equivalent of it. They're going to catch hell because they're thinking that these bomb shelters are built, to protect them from this destruction that's coming. It says, then shall mine hand take you. And what is the hand of the Lord? Those missiles. That's what's going to take them, because those missiles are going to penetrate deep into the earth. Remember, the Spirit of the Lord is going to be upon those missiles, those warheads. So they're going to penetrate deep into the earth and get to these, destinations, because part of America being destroyed is the total annihilation and total destruction of everything that you see, and that you don't see on the earth, under the sea, whatever the case may be. And what the thing that's going to make this happen or come to pass is the vehicle that the Lord gave them, the very weaponry, the very sword that these devils have been shaking at people, shaking at these nations, for decades, to pretty much establish their power and their authority on the earth, is the very same thing that's going to be used to bring them down, to bring their power down. Isaiah 54:16, behold, I have created the smith that bloweth the coals in the fire. What is a smith? A smith is an ancient weapons maker. Whether he would make shoe horses for your horse, whether he would make a harness, whether he would make a shield, whether he would make armor, whether he would make swords and daggers and spears and arrows, helmets. He was a metal worker. And for the most part, the weaponry back then was made out of metal. Today, the smiths, and this is what they would do, they would blow the coals in the fire, they would make, they would heat up steel and iron and things of that nature to make weaponry. The modern day smiths today would be what? The scientists. And ever since roughly around, I guess I'll say around the 40s, maybe a little before that, but around the 40s, they started to, flirt with the idea of making, weaponry, to drop bombs on people. I'm not an expert at it, so I'm just pretty much giving you, a synopsis. You could go do the research yourself. And this technology was pretty much given to them from the Most High Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai by these scientists, and mainly a lot of those German scientists, which the Germans, which are known as Teemen in the scriptures, they are the wisest among all so-called white people. And through them, they were able to manipulate the atoms and different, elements, put them together and create weaponry where they can shoot from a distance and not have to be on the ground, with losing men, fighting with men, as it was done in the ancient world, because that's how wars were fought in the past. They were fought hand to hand. Isaiah 9:5 says, "For every battle of the warriors with confused noise." A real warrior would be out on the battlefield, fighting, with whatever weapon he is an expert at. And the reason why it says confused noise, because there was a lot of screaming, a lot of yelling. When men get in that spirit of war, they yell, they scream. Then you have men getting their throat slit, their arms chopped off, legs chopped off, wounded. So there was a lot of confusion and a lot of noise. It says, in garments rolled in blood, right? Because their garments would get stained with blood, whether it was their blood or the blood of the enemy. It says, but this, meaning this particular war that's coming, shall be with burning and fuel of fire, right? This particular war that's coming is going to be with burning and fuel of fire. Why? Because the technology that was given them was the technology, of these missiles. And these missiles are going to, annihilate America, which is known as Babylon the Great. I'm just trying to look for this one scripture in the book of Jeremiah, either 50 or 51. Let me just bear with me 1 second. Okay, so it's with 2 R's instead of 2 M's. There's a precept in Jeremiah. Well, check this out. This is doubly good, double plus good. This is wow. I started Isaiah 13:19. I read these 3 precepts here. It says, Isaiah chapter 13, verse 19, "In Babylon, the glory of kingdoms," that's America, Babylon the Great, "the glory of kingdoms, the beauty of the Chaldees' excellency," because the Chaldees or the Chaldeans, they were the top wise men among, the ancient Babylonians, / Assyrians. And today this would be the council of Esau, the top councilmen, the top, ones that come up with strategies and, different things, to keep their kingdom going. It says, "Shall be as when the Most High what? Overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah." Now, if you notice, this is in Isaiah 13 and 19. This is Babylon the Great. So how did the Most High overthrow Sodom and Gomorrah? He caused fire and brimstone to rain down from heaven. A small example of that, was when the Lord caused the rain, hail and fire mingled together to drop down on Egypt. That was just like a little example of it. But prior to that, during the time of Sodom and Gomorrah, the Lord totally destroyed those moles, with actual fire. So the Lord actually, the angels caused the elements in the heavens to fuse together to create fire. And what the Lord did was he gave this technology of fusing those elements together to Esau. That's why they were able to go into plutonium and nitrogen and hydrogen, and all of these different atomic bombs, because the Lord gave them the same technology that the angels used to manipulate these elements to rain down fire from heaven upon Sodom, Gomorrah, Zoar, Zeboim, and Admah, the 5 cities of those Moors, those Hamites. So when we jump to the 49th chapter and the 18th verse, when you start at the 7th verse of this chapter, it's speaking about who? The Edomites, Esau. So it says, as in the overthrow of Sodom and Gomorrah and the neighbor cities thereof, saith the Lord, no man shall abide there, neither shall a son of man dwell in it. So it's talking about here in America, which is Esau's, new capital. And this is Babylon the Great. And Babylon the Great is associated at times with the Edomites. This is why Yahushua is coming to visit them. Then in Jeremiah 50 and 40, which is speaking about Babylon or Babylon the Great, it says, and the Most High overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah and the neighbor cities thereof, saith the Lord. As the Most High overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah and the neighbor cities thereof, saith the Lord, so shall no man abide there, neither shall any son of man dwell therein. So when the Lord brings that destruction, there's not going to be anything left here. This is why we're reading in Isaiah 54 and 16. Behold, matter of fact, before I go back to that, well, we read the one, but let me go back to it. Isaiah 95, for every battle of the warriors with confused noise and garments rolled in blood, right? That was ancient wars. But this, meaning this war, shall be with burning and fuel of fire. And what's going to cause that burning and fuel of fire? Those nuclear warheads, that are going to be used to destroy, America, the land of Israel, and certain other places wherever the Lord deems them to hit. Let's go real quick to Revelation chapter, I believe that's chapter 9. I just want to get straight to the point. 15th verse. And the 4 angels were loosed, because you have 4 angels that are holding back the winds from the 4 corners of the earth. The winds represent the destruction. And why were they holding back the winds? Because the Lord said, hold the winds back until the servants of the Lord, which are the Israelites, the elect, are sealed. It says, which were prepared for an hour and a day and a month and a year for to slay the third part of men. The third part of men represents Esau, because you have 3 classifications of men. You have the sons of God, which are the Israelites. You have the sons of men, which are the nations. And you have the sons of the wicked, which are the Edomites. And the earth right now is being governed by the third part of men, or the sons of the wicked. The earth is given into the hand of the wicked. Who are the wicked? The Edomites. It says, and the number of the army, this army is speaking about the missiles. You could also read about this in the book of Joel, the 2nd chapter. That great army that the Lord was speaking about is speaking about the missiles. It says, of horsemen were 200,000, right? 200,000 represents 200 million. And somebody said, well, they don't have that many missiles. Yeah, but the warheads, there are multiple warheads in every missile. And you cannot be a fool enough to think that these devils will tell you every missile that they do have. So lock it for a minute. There's weaponry that these devils have that they're not talking about, that they're not showing. When you see movies and you see different technology coming out, you better believe that technology is already old, at least 20 years old. Because after around 20 years, that's when they start revealing what they have or what new things they have in their arsenal, which is really old technology. But the new stuff they don't show until later on. It says, and I heard the number of them, and thus I saw the horses in the vision, because when the Apostle John saw them, he saw them as horses in the vision. It says, and them that sat on them having breastplates of fire, meaning when he looked at the missile, he saw uh, breastplates. He saw them like they were on fire. Because remember, when a missile shot, it shot with the propulsion from one part of the earth to the other. It'll go outside of the atmosphere, and when anything enters back into the earth's atmosphere, it's set on fire. You know, it says, and of jacinth and brimstone, right? Because that's what they're bringing, fire and brimstone. The same way the Lord rained fire and brimstone down upon Sodom, Gomorrah, and the other cities. And the heads of the horses were as the heads of lions, right? Because a lion's head is part, besides the lion's paw, his head, his teeth are the strongest part of him. You know, this is why the main attack is either done by their paw or by their mouth. You know, so when he saw them, he said he saw them as heads of lions. You know, and when you see the fire coming off of them, it kind of looks like a lion's mane. And I remember years ago, Elder Pastor had gone over this. It says, and out of their mouths issued fire and smoke and brimstone. You know, the mouth is what? That's the warhead. Because the most devastating part of the missile is the smallest part of the missile, which is the warhead. The whole propulsion, when you look at a missile, right? When you look at a missile, right? Let's see if we can do it like this. Let's see if it'll break it down. This is the warhead, but you have the propulsion system. Oh, here we go. See, this is the propulsion system, the whole rocket, and each stage of it has fuel in it, and as it goes up, they start to detach from each other. This is a very complicated process, you know, because each part of these propulsion, you know, packs have to have fuel in them, and they have to detach at a certain point. So it goes up, part of it detach. It goes up, part of it detach, all the way till you get to the warhead. The warhead, once the warhead enters the inner atmosphere, you know, this is where the main part of the devastation is at. All of this, the biggest part of the rocket is just for propulsion. The part that hurts and destroys the most are these warheads, you know, and that's what we read in here. Out of their mouth issued fire and smoke and brimstone. And remember, the Apostle Paul heard the number. He didn't sit there and count each individual 200 million. He heard the number. And that's why he was able to write it down, because it would be impossible for him to count 200 million missiles or 200 million warheads. It says, by these three was the third part of men killed, right? What is the third part of men? The Edomites. And why does it say they were killed? A lot of them are going to die, but also their system is going to go down using the same technology that they use to puff at people. This is why the scriptures say that the nations are saying, art thou become weak as we? By the fire and by the smoke and by the brimstone, which is the radiation. When you read the 8th chapter, the brimstone and the radiation would be known as wormwood. And it made the waters bitter, not bitter to taste. Oh, this is some bitter ass wine. Inside joke. But, you know, bitter as far as contaminated. You know, because if you eat something bitter, bitters are good for you. You know, you have your bitters, and then you have your sours and things of that nature. Those are good for you. But if you drink something that makes you drop dead, it's not bitter in that sense. It's bitter in a contaminated sense, which issued out of their mouths. See, for their power is in their mouth, right? That's the missile. That's the warheads, and in their tails. Why is it in their tails? Because the tail is the propulsion system that propels it from one part of the earth to the other. And what drives it? That fire. You see, when they launch a nuclear missile from the silo, that's what comes out. You know? Let's see. There you go. This is the arrow, the missile, and this is the propulsion. I'm sorry. This is the silo. This is the nest. This is where it comes out of. You can see here the door opens up, and they're getting ready to fire it. And there's times when, if you look, they'll show you detonation. Let me just type in detonation, see what comes up. That's one. There we go. See the missile firing out. You see the actual fire coming out of it. There you go. Boom. That's why it says their tails. Where is this coming out of? It's not coming out of the head of it. It's coming out of the tail. The fire is coming out the tail to propel it from one part of the earth to the other. And the heads. The reason why it speaks about the heads is because the heads also is what hurts. You can see another one here. And the two major strengths of the missile is the propulsion and the warheads. All right. So it says, for their power is in their mouth and in their tails, for their tails were like unto serpents. And you see them, when they fly, they leave a trail behind them like a serpent, and had heads. And with them they do hurt, because the head is the missile, the biggest part of the missile doesn't do the hurting. The propulsion system doesn't do the hurting. What does the hurting is the smallest part of it, which is the head. Just like a serpent. The main problem with the serpent is their venom, their mouth, their head. All right, so let's leave it there. Let's move on. So Isaiah 54:16, behold, I have created the smith that bloweth the coals in the fire, and that bringeth forth an instrument for his work, which is what? The missile. And I have created the waster to destroy, right? And the Lord gave them the ability to do these things. Why? Let's go to 2 Peter. And another precept came to mind. Let's go to... All right. And these are things that we're supposed to be talking about, because these are things that are coming. And on top of talking about these prophecies, we also have to talk about the MOTB, which is a sea hip, and all of the things, Jacob's trouble. These are things that we should be speaking about, on a regular. Yes, we speak about other things. We go into history. We go into different things in the scriptures, of course. But the main things we're supposed to be speaking about is prophecy, because that's the most important things right now to keep an eye out for. Yahushua said, watch as well as pray. So if we're watching as well as praying, what are we watching for? We're watching for the prophecies to be fulfilled, for them to happen. So in 2 Peter, right, 3:9, it says, 3:10, it says, but the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night. Yeah, because people don't understand what the day of the Lord entails. They're talking about the rapture. They're talking about, a white mole coming through the clouds with candies and cookies and flowers, juju fruits and bonbons and, inside joke, and coming to bring peace to everybody. No. The Lord, and then when you read the scriptures give a different picture. Yahushua said, think not that I have come to send peace on earth. I came not to send peace, but a sword. What Bible are these people reading? Then he said, I am come to send fire upon the earth, and what will I if it be already kindled? So if the Lord is saying these things, and he's saying watch as well as pray, and he's given us clues as to what things would be happening prior to him showing up, then how are these people getting this love vibration from these things? The Most High creates evil. Yes, he loves, he has that side of him. He loves the Israelites, but he also destroys. He also kills. He also devastates. And the things that are coming are going to be devastating. Destruction is coming. Judgment is coming. It's not going to be nice. And that shows you that although these things are written in the scriptures, A lot of these people out here, especially Jake, their eyes are not open to what's happening and what's going to happen. And this is why the scriptures say to eat the roll and speak to the house of Israel, whether they will hear or whether they will forbear. Because regardless if they listen or not, the Lord is still going to bring the destruction. And the reward is going to be according to the actions of the individual. If they are part of the elect, guess what? They're going to do things the elect would do for deliverance. If they are part of the ones to be destroyed, they're going to do things that merit destruction. And that's the bottom line. And if you can reason like that without the emotions, you would save yourself a lot of heartache, a lot of frustration, but sometimes the zeal gets the best of us, so we still in the flesh, so we still get upset and uptight, but it's already laid out in spades for us. All we have to do is do what the Lord said for us to do. It says, but the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night, in the which the heavens shall pass away with a great noise. What is that great noise? The great noise that the heavens is going to pass away with is the destruction from those missiles. They're going to make a noise. Let's go to Psalms 91. We'll start at 1. The ones that will be safe and protected will be the elect. And guess what? Even the elect are going to be shook. Even the elect are going to be nervous. Remember, the prophets that saw these visions, they're part of the elect. Did not they get, frazzled? Did not they get nervous? Did not they get sick? Did not they have horrible fear from the visions that they saw? Because they were like in a hologram. They were in the Most High's metaverse. He actually showed them. He actually put them in the midst of this thing. So it was very vivid because it was actually happening in another dimension. And they were sick. So it's not the men that are alive today and the women that are alive today that see these things, even though they're being delivered, that's not going to be shook by it. Psalms 91:1. He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. What is the secret place of the Most High? This truth, the proper understanding, the proper doctrine, the true gospel, the true evangelion, which is the true good news of the Most High, shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. What is the shadow of the Almighty? The protection. And that protection is going to come by way of the chariots, what the world calls UFOs or UAPs, or unidentified flying objects or something strange. That is the shadow of the Almighty, because when you're in somebody's shadow, you're under their protection. It says, I will say of the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, He is my refuge and my fortress. Right. And you better trust and believe that when that day comes and the elect are being delivered, you ain't going to have none of the elect calling on Jesus and on Christ. They're going to be calling on Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. It says, my power, in Him will I trust. Surely He shall deliver thee from the snare of the fowler. A snare is a trap. Fowler is a bird catcher. So what is the snare of the trap? Of the fowler? This whole new world order, the system and the way it's going, and everything within it. Because anyone that partakes in it and is embedded deep in it, especially with the MOTB, which is the C-hip, they will not be protected. It says, and what? From the noisome pestilence. What is that noisome pestilence? Those missiles dropping and causing devastation. It's going to be so bad, and the devastation is going to be so severe that the whole earth is going to rock back to and fro like an earthquake. And that's going to begin. That's the beginning of the miseries of the rich men and of the Edomites and of the nations on the planet Earth. It says, He shall cover thee with His feathers. What are His feathers? This is talking about the chariots. All right. In Psalm 68, it describes it as a dove with feathers of gold and of silver. That's not talking about an actual dove, because if you have a dove that has gold and silver feathers, it's not going to be able to fly. This is a description of the chariots, what the world calls so-called UFOs, UAPs, whatever you want to call them. And under His wings shalt thou trust. Right. Because the wings also represent the chariots. because the Lord is going to be our protection as birds flying. It says, his truth shall be thy shield and buckler. This is going to be, the ultimate deliverance is this truth. This is the reservation. This is the ticket out of here, which is the engrafted word, which is able to save your souls. Thou shalt not be afraid for the terror by night, nor for the arrow that flieth by day. And that arrow is what? Those missiles. All right, so going back to 2 Peter, it says, but the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night, in the which the heavens shall pass away with great noise, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. All you have to do is look at those movies and examples that brothers have been bringing out. One of the main ones is Judgment Day. I'm not sure if it's going to come up. You go, that's a destruction right there. Then you have movies like Knowing. Here it goes right here. This is the Sarah Connor scene, where you see the fire running down the street and all of these buildings and everything in its way getting, melted. Now, the only thing is, I know they did it for cinemagic was when the fire came through here, it was supposed to burn all of this. The horse, the metal horses, all these metal bars, the people, the bones, everything was supposed to be melted. All right, here you go. Another. This is the fire coming through the streets, burning up the streets. Then you have the movie Knowing. Let's see if this comes up. Which pretty much shows you the same thing. See, the city being on fire, and it's a sweeping agent. The scriptures speak about the besom of destruction. It's a sweeping agent that's going to come across. It's going to come across and burn up all of these buildings, all of anything, cars, planes, trains, whatever, people. And then there's going to be fire. There's going to be resources, trees, flowers, everything that's going to be fuel for the fire. Fuel for this fire. So this is a very good depiction, an idea of what's coming. To at least get somewhat of a visual of what the scriptures are speaking about. So the elements shall melt with fervent heat, the earth also and the works thereof. This is dealing with Esau's whole structure, his system that are therein shall be burnt up, because it's going to go, their plans are going to go up in smoke. And this is why they have these deep underground military bases where they think they're going to hide at. And if they're around the world, different places around the world, they will be, they will escape, but they will escape to go into captivity, into slavery. This is not going to help them here in America, because anyone that's left on the soils of America will be toast. No matter how deep underground you are, no matter how far the Pentagon goes down, 75 floors or whatever, the Lord said that they're going to be taken there. Amos 9:2, though they dig into hell, thence shall my hand take them. Though they climb up to heaven, space stations, thence will I bring them down, because they're going to be brought down from there and go right into captivity. It says, and though they hide themselves in the top of Carmel, see, you have bases and shelters, fallout shelters carved into mountains like this one. This is carved into a mountain. Then you have some that are carved into the earth. Let's go back. It says, I will search and take them out thence, and though they be hid from my sight in the bottom of the sea. Yeah, because you even have these devils have the ability to build underwater. And you have shelters underwater where they think that the missiles are not going to hit. If they happen to be on the shores of America, they toast. But if they happen to be anywhere around the world, that's going to be the place where their final resting place as far as freedom is concerned. Because after the destruction, we will be going out throughout the earth, Lord's will we be the elect, and searching them out, kicking down these doors and pulling these devils out and put them right into slavery. This is why the scriptures say, "Howl ye for your miseries that shall come upon you." And it's not going to be nice. You know? It says, "Thence will I command the serpent, and he shall bite thee." Right? Because Leviathan is going to have some fun snacking on you too. All right. Now, let's go. Okay, we got that. Malachi 4:1. "For behold, the day cometh that shall burn as an oven, and all the proud, yea, and all that do wickedly shall be stubble. And the day that cometh shall burn them up, saith the Lord of hosts, that it shall leave them neither root nor branch." And what's going to cause this? Those missiles. Let's go to one more. Zechariah 14:12. It says, "And this shall be the plague," because this is a plague. Read, I think that's 2 Ezra 16. It speaks about the plague. It's talking about those missiles. You know, the missiles, which are the arrows that are shot, you know, across the world. "Wherewith the Lord will smite all the people that have fought against Jerusalem. Their flesh shall consume away while they stand upon their feet." What causes the flesh to consume away? Those missiles. Just like we've seen in the movie Terminator. You know? Let's see. I see it. There you go. It's good to look at some of these visuals to get an idea. But the only difference is not just the flesh that's going to come off. All the bones, everything is going to be burnt up. You're talking about extreme heat from those missiles. All right. So it says, "And their eyes shall consume away in their holes, and their tongue shall consume away in their mouths." Right. So everything is going to go up in smoke, including their dreams. Because the ones that, the international bankers that don't get hit by this, guess what? They're going to, their New World Order plans are going to be devastated. The Lord says he disappoints the devices of the crafty. Now let's go to Isaiah chapter 2. Let's get a couple of these precepts. And I think I already got the other one, but let's go to Isaiah chapter 2 and 17. "And the loftiness of man shall be bowed down." Yeah, because Esau and his pride will be bowed down. And anyone that's proud will be bowed down in that day. You better believe that. "And the haughtiness of men shall be made low. And the Lord Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai alone shall be exalted in that day. And the idols he shall utterly abolish." Right. All of the idols are going to be abolished. The so-called Christ of the Andes and anything that people worship that they bow down to, and the religious systems of the world, this plantation Christianity / Roman Catholicism, all of that is going to be abolished. "And they shall go into the holes of the rocks," right, which is what? Their shelters. These underground shelters, these mountain retreats, space stations, underwater retreats, "and into the caves of the earth." Why? They're going to be trying to hide from the Lord. "For fear of the Lord Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, and for the glory of his majesty. When he ariseth to shake terribly the earth." And what's going to do that shaking terribly? Those missiles. You know, the lasers of the chariots are going to bring fire, but the missiles are going to cause the devastating earthquakes. And this great earthquake is going to be so massive that it's going to rock the whole entire planet Earth. You're not talking about just in one city or state or continent. You're talking about worldwide. You know, tsunamis and all kind of stuff happening. You know, we only read about it and can only picture it so much and watch so many movies. But when the day comes, it's going to be terrible. "In that day a man shall cast his idols of silver and his idols of gold, which they made each one for himself to worship, to the moles and to the bats." They're going to be like, "Man, the hell with this. I'm out of here." Because remember, an idol can't save itself. An idol can't clean itself. An idol can't eat. It can't hear. It can't speak. It can't smell. So they're going to be getting up. They're going to be trying to deliver themselves to go into the clefts of the rocks. Oh, it's time to go into these, shelters. And you notice that they ain't really talking about it too much now, but a lot of these, well-to-do families were getting their shelters on, getting their shelters ready. And if those shelters happen to be in America, that's going to be your grave, your tomb. And into the tops of the ragged rocks, for fear of the Lord Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, and for the glory of his majesty, when he arises to shake terribly the earth. Said it again. Cease ye from man, whose breath is in his nostril, for wherein is he to be accounted of? So, let's go from there. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 24 and verse 18. And it shall come to pass that he who fleeth from the noise of the fear shall fall into the pit, because you're going to have individuals that are going to escape, everything that is going to take place in the earth. They're going to get away from this. They're going to get away from that. They're not going to get caught up in any of these things. Some of them are going to be a part of the elect, but some of them are being reserved directly for the day of destruction. And he that cometh up out of the midst of the pit shall be taken in the snare, for the windows from on high are open, right? Because the Lord is going to open up the ozone layer to allow the missiles to go out and come in. Because the ozone layer and what they call the Van Allen belt, that's all radiation used to keep the debris from outer space and the atmosphere from outer space from entering into the earth and killing people. Because the Lord separated the atmospheres. He separated the outer space atmosphere from the earth atmosphere, from the water's atmosphere, And just alone on that, there has to be a higher intelligent power, to do something like that, to have the mind to use that as a separation so that the earth can be habitable. Esau, leave it up to that goddamn devil. And the foundations of the earth do shake. Why? Because of the great shaking from the missiles that's going to be pelting on this place. The earth is utterly broken down. The earth is clean dissolved. The earth is moved exceedingly. Yeah, because the kingdoms of the earth, of this earth, are going to be transferred and translated to Yahushai. The earth shall reel to and fro like a drunkard. Right. Why? Because the missiles are going to be hitting it so hard. It's going to be rocking back and forth on its axis. And shall be removed like a cottage, and the transgression thereof shall be heavy upon it. Because remember, the Lord destroyed the first world by water, because he said he saw the wickedness of man, that it was great upon earth. So today, how much more wicked are things today? So the Lord is going to use fire this time, because he promised through his sacred token, which these devils perverted, the rainbow, that he will never again destroy the earth by water, but he will destroy it by fire. That's the second death. And it shall fall and not rise again, meaning that Esau's system, once it goes down, they're not going to be reestablished anymore. Once Esau goes down, all heathen governments are going down, and Yahushai's government is going to be established. /Yasha Allah. And it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall punish the host of the high ones that are on high. Right. These are the rich men of the earth. You have rich men among all nations, but especially among the Edomites, Amalek. They are the top. The other kings or leaders of these nations are in bed with America, drinking of that abominable cup. They're going to be caught up in this too, because they have their shelters where they're going to be hiding at. The rich men are going to be the first to taste of this captivity that's coming, and whatever peoples of the nations are left around the earth. But especially, the Lord is going to especially preserve those leaders among all of these nations, the international banking families. It says, "And the kings of the earth upon the earth, and they shall be gathered together as prisoners are gathered in a pit." And that's where you're going, right? You're going from the lap of luxury to the lap of dung. You're going into pretty much into slavery, captivity, hardships, hard times. You know, it's not going to be nice for you. And shall be shut up in the prison. And after many days shall they be visited, right? And when your visitation comes, because you're going to be in those shelters, you know, until the Lord give us a power to come and get you. So you're going to think you're doing good. You're going to be drinking your champagne, your $13,000 a glass, you know, whatever you drink, wine or cognac or bourbon, you know, brandy, whatever. And then when we kick down the doors, you know, that's when it begins for you. The beginning of your end. All right. So let's go from there. Let's go to Revelation chapter 9 and verse 20. And the rest of the men which were not killed by these plagues, why? Because they were in these bomb shelters, yet repented not of the works of their hands, that they should not worship devils and idols of gold and silver and brass and stone and of wood, which neither can see nor hear nor walk. Neither repented they of their murders, nor of their sorceries, nor of their fornication, nor of their thefts, right? And the sorceries go into witchcraft, and it also goes into these pharmaceuticals, which alter a person's mindset. And Revelation 6, I should have read this one first, and 12, and I beheld when he had opened the sixth seal, and lo, there was a great earthquake. This great earthquake is going to be the devastation, because at the end of the sixth, which is the beginning of the seventh, that's what's going to bring forth the end. This is why the Lord said that the elect will be delivered at the end of the sixth. He shall deliver thee in 6 trouble, yea, in 7 they shall no evil touch thee. And the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood. Why? Because the smoke, the soot, you know, all of that, and the fire is going to block out the sun and the moon and the stars on this side of the world for a certain period of time. And the stars of heaven fell onto the earth. These are your satellites. Even as a fig. Oh, actually, these stars are talking about the missiles. And the stars of heaven fell onto the earth. And it says stars, plural, because remember, there was 200 million missiles. And the stars of heaven fell onto the earth, which is the missiles, even as a fig tree casteth her untimely figs. Right. It's gonna fall in an arching fashion. When you look at missiles shot, they're shot. They come straight out and then they arch to get to their destination. It says, when she is shaken of a mighty wind. Right. And that mighty wind in this case is going to be the nuclear devastation. And the heavens departed as a scroll when it is rolled together. This is something called a mushroom cloud. All right. When you type in mushroom cloud, there you go. Heavens being rolled together as a scroll. There you go. There's another. Matter of fact, this is a good one right here. And when you look at a scroll, that's how it's rolled together. You know, the heavens shall be rolled together as a scroll from the motion, you know, of that devastation. And that motion is also going to cause that great earthquake. It says, and every mountain and island were moved out of their places. That's dealing with, in America, that's dealing with, it's going to be laid out like a flat plain. You know, and there's not going to be anything here. You're not going to know where one state ended and the other one began. You're not going to know where any buildings are at. The lines of confusion and stones of emptiness, as it states in Isaiah 34. And the kings of the earth, this is what we get into, the kings of the earth and the great men and the rich men and the chief captains. Remember, because they're going to have military men, international banking families, you know, that are going to, you know, partake in this. As you can see here, these are military men, you know, that plan on going into these different places around the world. Not America is finished, but around the world, wherever they have these places, they're going to go there. And that's going to be where they're going to go right into captivity from. And the mighty men, which are other, you have the captains, which are the leaders or the higher ranking officials like lieutenants and captains and, you know, generals. And then you have the mighty men, which are your, your militaries, your Navy SEALs, your Marines, and every bondman, because they're planning on restarting everything. This is why they have something called contingency of government, which is the continuance of a government after it's destroyed. That's why there's certain shelters, bomb shelters around the world, where they have a catalog of records, history, and all of that. Then they're going to bring with them servants, because they're thinking like the pharaohs, that when they die, they're going to, have their servants and their wives with them in the afterlife. But the difference is that they're not going to die. They're going to think that they're going to bring their servants with them into this new world that they think is going to be created under their power and authority. But you thought wrong. And every freeman hid themselves in the dens and in the rocks of the mountains. What the hell is this talking about? This is talking about the shelters. Why? Because of the devastation that's coming upon the earth by way of these nuclear missiles. And said to the mountains and rocks, fall on us and hide us from the face of him that sitteth on the throne, Yahweh, and from the wrath of the Lamb, Yahweh Shai. Because Yahweh Shai is coming to visit you Edomites. Who is this that cometh from Edom with dyed garments? So you're going to try to go into these places to hide from the Lord, because you're going to know. And you're going to have, service down there. You're going to be able to see on your monitors, the devastation. You're going to be able to see the chariots. You're going to be able to see the Lord getting busy. You're going to be able to see your military trying to fight against the Lord and be eviscerated. And you're going to think, because that's how demonic you Edomites are, you're going to think, well, where we're in the shelter, they're not going to know where we're at. We're hiding. They're not going to be able to find us. So they'll get everybody else out there, but they won't get us. This is how demented these devils are. You done sipped your own Babylonian juice, my man. It says, for the great day of his wrath is come, and who shall be able to stand? Right? Because this is something that's been prophesied for thousands of years. Before it come to pass, I tell you of it. For the great day of his wrath is come. This is why when we read Revelation 16, right, and 16, I think it's 16 and 16. No, that's not it. 17. And the seventh angel poured out his vial into the air, which is the final destruction. And there came a great voice out of the temple of heaven from the throne, saying, it is done. So this is the great day. For the great day of his wrath is come. So if it's finally going to be fulfilled at a certain point. And who shall be able to stand? The only ones that will be able to stand are the elect that the Lord will protect. But the rest of everybody else, they're either going to die, the slain of the Lord shall be many, or go right into captivity. And if whatever Israelites are left around the world, they're going to be brought back and cleaned up, and they're going to be reestablished, upon the earth as the people of the Lord. So it's all of this is approaching, but first thing that has to happen is the CHIP has to be implemented. And this is a very important prophecy, that has to happen prior to, all of this devastation to come. It has to happen. And it will happen. So everything is in place. While you're concerned about your celebrities and, and what this one did, and this one divorced that one and got him for child support and got her for this and this, that, and the other, all of this is being rolled out while you're worrying about petty shit. All of this technology is being rolled out. the brain implants and all of that. So by now you should know that this is the MOTB. All right, so with that, I pray that you brothers and few sisters have been edified. To the next time I say shalom.